melody with lyrics. In this lesson, we're going to look at how to enter a very simple song into MuseScore. This is just going to consist of a melody and lyrics. And for an example, we're going to use Mary Had a Little Lamb, which should be familiar to most of us. So to get started, I want to enter the notes beginning in the first measure. So I'll click that first measure to select it. And now I want to enter note input mode. To do that, I'm going to click the N icon here on the toolbar. As the tooltip that appears tells you, the shortcut for this is N as well. So I could also press the N key on my keyboard. I'm going to click the icon. And now a cursor appears indicating that we're in note input mode, and this is where MuseScore is ready for me to start entering notes. To enter the notes, I'm going to select a duration using one of the icons here on the toolbar, and then I'm going to enter the pitches. So we want to start with quarter notes, so I will click the quarter note icon, and when I do this, notice the tooltip appears and tells me that the shortcut for that is 5. But let me click the icon, and now I can start entering notes by clicking directly onto the staff. Now, while I can do it this way, it's going to be more efficient to use the keyboard. I can just type letter names, E, E, and then E. Now here, I made a mistake. Not really. I really wanted to enter a half note. So the easiest way to correct a mistake you just made is just to hit backspace. That's going to function as undo as long as you're in note input mode. So I'll press backspace to get rid of that quarter note E. Now I can enter the half note that I really want. So the half note icon here on the toolbar, the tooltip that appears tells me the shortcut is 6. So let's remember that. So I'm going to click the icon and then type an E. Now I want to enter the rest of the notes, and I'm going to try to use the keyboard only for that because it is so much more efficient. As you may recall, 5 is going to be the quarter note shortcut, 6 is going to be the half note shortcut. So 5 for quarter note, then D, D, 6 for half note, another D, 5 for quarter note, and then E, G, 6 for half note, and then another G. All right, at this point, I have finished entering the notes for the first line of music. I'm going to press Escape to leave note input mode and return to normal mode. At this point, I would love to enter the lyrics, but first, I have noticed that the inspector here is kind of obscuring part of my score, and I don't really need the inspector right now. This is going to be used for all sorts of fancy manual adjustments and so forth we might want to make later on, but a score this simple, we're not going to need it. So I'm just going to go ahead and close it by clicking the X here. If we ever need it back, we can come to the View menu and re-enable it. So now that I can see the whole first line of music, now let's enter the lyrics. I'm going to click the first note, then Control L to enter lyrics. On a Mac, that's going to be Command L. So Control L, and now I can type my lyrics and then use either a space to move to the next syllable or a hyphen if it's a hyphenated word. So I'll start with Mary, and that's hyphenated, so I'm going to use the hyphen and then the next syllable. And now space. Now the next syllable. Space. And so forth. So I can keep going. This one is hyphenated. Space, space, hyphen, space, hyphen, space. Well, actually, at this point, I'm just going to press Escape to leave lyrics mode because I'm done with this line of lyrics. So now I have a complete line of both melody and lyrics. The second line starts out almost exactly like the first one. So to save some work, I want to use copy and paste. So I want to select these first two measures and copy them down here. To do that, I'm going to click an empty spot in the first measure to select that measure. And now I'm going to shift click an empty spot in the second measure to extend the selection to that point. Now with those measures selected, I can use the standard shortcut. It's Control-C for copy. On a Mac, it's Command-C. So Control-C, and now I can click where I want to paste it, and Control-V, or Command-V on Mac. So that's how copy and paste works. I now want to clear that selection I will just press Escape, and that selection goes away. Now I need to enter the remainder of the notes, but before I can do that, I need to shorten this half note. It was a half note in the original, but in the copy, I really only want a quarter note here. So I'm going to click that note to select it. Since I'm in normal mode, these duration icons here in the toolbar are going to have a different effect than they do in note input mode. They're actually going to change the duration of the selected note. So I can click the quarter note icon, and it's going to change that half note to a quarter note. In the process, a rest appears so that my measure continues to have 4 beats. So now I can enter the remainder of the notes. I can click that rest, which is where I want the next note to appear, press N for note input mode, and then enter the rest of the notes. So 5 for quarter note, and then E, D, D, E, D, and next I need to enter a whole note. Well, we know it's 5 for quarter note, 6 for half note. What do you think whole note's going to be? It's 7. But I'll go ahead and click the icon while I'm here, and now I can type my C. And then I'll press Escape to once again leave note input mode. Next, I want to enter the remainder of the lyrics, so I'll go ahead and click that E, Control L, and type the remainder of the lyrics, and press Escape. At this point, I'm done with the melody, I'm done with the lyrics, so I'm now down to the cleanup phase. So I want to get rid of all these empty measures by selecting them first. So I'm going to click the first measure, the first empty measure. The last empty measure is actually off screen. It's below the bottom of my screen here. So I'm going to need to scroll to find it. Now, as you can see, there's no scroll bars, but the way we're going to do this is using the mouse wheel. If you have a mouse scroll wheel, you can use that. If you have a touchpad, its 2-finger swipe is going to have the same effect. So I can scroll down and then shift click the last measure. And now with that selected, Control Delete will remove those measures. I can then use 2-finger swipe again to scroll back up. And by the way, 2-finger swipe with Shift will scroll horizontally. So at this point, I'm really getting close. I see that the title, there's just a default title there. I'd rather put in the real title. So to edit this title, I'm going to double click it. And now I can use the standard shortcut Control A to select the text that's there and type the title I actually want. And then press Escape. I can similarly edit the composer and then Control A and enter the composer. I had to Google this to look it up, but there you go. That is the composer. I would also like to recognize the lyricist. So I'm going to go to the Add menu, Add, Text, Lyricist. And now I can enter the lyricist, who I also was able to find online. And press Escape. All right, at this point, the piece feels fairly completed. However, we haven't had a chance to use the palettes here, and I feel like we could use a tempo marking to tell people how fast to play this song. So I'm going to click the first note, which is where I'm going to want the tempo marking to appear. And now I'm going to enter the tempo. I'm going to open the tempo palette here. When I do that, you'll see a variety of markings. They all say 80. That's okay. We're going to edit the marking to say whatever tempo we want. What's important is that the different markings have a different note value to use. So in 4/4 time, we're going to want to set the tempo using quarter note. So I have the note selected. that I want to apply this tempo marking to, I can now double-click the marking in the palette. And that adds the marking to my score. And now, just as I did with the title, I can double-click it and edit the text to read what I really want it to read, and then press Escape. At this point, the score is complete. I would love to hear what it sounds like, wouldn't you? So I'm going to click the first note of the score and press the space bar, and we will hear the playback. And there you have it. We have entered a simple song consisting of melody and lyrics into MuseScore. Along the way, we got to see not only how to enter notes and how to enter lyrics, but we got to see how to undo mistakes. We got to see how to edit text. We got to see how to scroll. We got to see how to add elements from the palette. And we got to see how to use copy and paste. We got to see how to change the duration of an existing note. That's really quite a lot we got to see just in the course of entering this very simple song. So this really gets you off to a great start using MuseScore, and I hope that you found this useful.